Joining us now to discuss this news is former chief of Southern District of New York's Complex Frauds and Cybercrime Unit, Timothy Howard, currently a partner at law firm Freshfields. Timothy, what a day. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to and read the SDNY's indictment, but was hoping you could break it down for us, as well as the SEC complaint and the Department of Justice indictment.
So I have had a chance to review the complaints from the various regulators here and watch the press conference. It's some pretty dazzling allegations across multiple instruments. The SEC complaint provides a significantly more detail than the indictment, which is more typical of what you see from an SEC complaint, kind of walking through their allegations in a number of ways in which they claim that SBF knowingly lied to different parties, including both investors and customers, through many different mediums, through the terms of service and contracts with customers, through discussions with potential investors, both in the first, the preliminary 3 rounds of funding, about $1 billion that FTX raised, but also in 2022 to cover some of the losses that Alameda was having. There's also allegations about lies that he made on Twitter, to Congress, and to the media, which all tie into SEC's charges. SDNY and DOJ presented an 8-count indictment, as you mentioned, with a number of charges focusing on wire fraud, for separate counts for lies to customers and the allegation is that they felt the representations were that their funds would be protected and not commingled and sent to places like Alameda, as well as counts relating to fraud on the investors, much like the SEC is charging, securities fraud related to the 2022 period, when again the allegations are that Sam Bankman-Fried made misrepresentations about the financial health of FTX to investors to get money during this period, money laundering for concealing where the source of illegal proceeds of the wire fraud, as well as election fraud related to donations to political candidates. And according to the U.S. Attorney, who's Damian Williams, who spoke about an hour ago, that related to a scheme to contribute political contributions to both Democrats and Republicans, made to look like there were other wealthy people that were making the donations, but were actually all alter egos of Sam Bankman-Fried, who was coordinating all of the donations above campaign finance limits.
Fascinating. And so there is potential for those political contributions to be clawed back. I wonder how the SDNY on the state level, the DOJ on the federal level, and the SEC on the federal level all work together and coordinate all of this. How would it work? And so, FTX, by the way, is an international entity too, as well. So there's that element as well in terms of jurisdiction.
Right. So SDNY and CFTC and SEC all come with various authorities. SDNY has a lot of experience coordinating with other regulators in parallel investigations, taking advantage of the different authorities to bring cases against individuals that they are accusing of misconduct. And SDNY also has, including in the cases I supervised back when there, a long history of prosecuting cases with significant international elements, including in the crypto space.
All right. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried has been effective in confusing the media, injecting doubt, making it sound like this was all a mistake. And we have a clip from today's House Financial Services Committee hearing. Let's have a listen.
Is all of this just one big mistake? It looks to me like there may be some malfeasance here. Would you consider this to be sincere ignorance?
I don't want to put labels on it. Ultimately, like others will judge him by his actions.
I find it difficult to believe that we're dealing with conscientious stupidity. This is not going to be tolerated.
All right, so the question here is there a difference between a mistake and malfeasance when weighing guilt in SEC and criminal charges?
So I think more critical with the criminal charges, and this is something that I saw as a fraud prosecutor and supervisor for a long time, the classic defense of it's not a crime to be a bad businessman, to make bad decisions. It's a crime to lie or run an organization where you were aware that lies were being made to investors and customers to take their money. So the challenge here is whether or not Sam Bankman-Fried can make that defense credibly, given all of the other evidence that is alleged in these various documents, particularly the SEC document, which gives us some more detail regarding things that he directly said to investors and to the media and all of these things, compared to evidence about his conduct and FTX's conduct. So it's the question is whether the jury is going to find it credible that he really didn't know what was going on and didn't, had no idea and didn't have the criminal intent to be criminally liable.
I guess that's the key here, because he's often said that he wasn't aware of commingling funds. And so what is the key action that needs to be proved here, that he actually had intent and knew that this was happening?
So again, for fraud cases, it's going to be, it's going to be intent, criminal intent. What did he know? What should he have known? He can also be held liable for turning willfully blind to certain things. So the question is, what are the documents going to say about his knowledge about these things? What activities was he directly involved with? And what do other witnesses say? What we can't tell from an indictment, which only walks through, the criminal charges to give notice of the types of charges and the types of conduct with which he is charged, is we don't know the kinds of evidence that SDNY has at its disposal. And here, where you have a world where you have a number of aggrieved investors and customers who lost billions of dollars, and employees that could have been damaged from the fallout here. You don't know who are the witnesses that may be coming forward to DOJ and FBI to be potential witnesses here, cooperating witnesses if they're involved, or just fact witnesses to things that Sam Bankman-Fried might have said or done.
And at the same time, the Bahamas has their own set of charges that they want to file. They also filed for Chapter 15 bankruptcy in the SDNY. How does that all coordinate and come together?
Well, there are going to be many different, parties that are looking for relief. There's going to be civil litigation. There's going to be the creditors that are becoming from bankruptcy. There's the criminal process. There's SEC that will likely be on hold while the criminal action goes forward if a stay is sought. So all of these are going to come together. One interesting element of the bankruptcy, if we start to think about what kinds of evidence might be available for the government against Sam Bankman-Fried, is we saw the testimony of the new CEO. In bankruptcy, there's a new management team. They reportedly met with SDNY, I believe that was last week, and they may believe that it's in the best interest of FTX, the surviving entity, to be very cooperative. So they may very well have made the decision to provide documents and witnesses and be very proactive in their cooperation, like we saw in some cases when I was at SDNY with bankrupt entities that had new management.